Hey guys, what is up? It's your girl, Grace Torie, and I am back with a whole new podcast episode. It is officially October, which means it is the spookiest month of the year, and something that you guys know if you were here last year that I am really passionate about is ghosties and the paranormal. I just think it's so interesting and so fun. So for the month of October, we're going to be doing spooky things, starting with reading spooky ghost stories. Before I jump in, I did want to let you guys know that if you missed it, the first episode is up on YouTube that is all about our new house that we bought. It is a vlog style, just closing to the first week of owning the house. So if you're interested in hearing about that, go ahead and check that out after this episode. Let's go ahead and jump on in. I'm Grace Torie, and you're listening to That Girl the Podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in, because the new episode is starting now. Before I get into it, I do want to give a heads up that there are some darker topics discussed here that have to do with, dying and things like that. So if that is not something you're comfortable with, this is not the episode for you. This first one is titled The Convenience Store. One friend worked at a convenience store where the stockroom and personal break room were said to be haunted. Years earlier, an employee had died there in his sleep and never woke up. According to my friend, the man's spirit still lingered, often appearing faceless but still in uniform. Honestly, I'm not surprised that it's the stockroom and personal break room that they say is haunted, because those are always creepy, especially if you work in like a store, a retail, or anything like that. I don't know why, but they're always very eerie. But let's continue. Near the stockroom, there was even a small altar with flowers, candles, and saint images set up by the manager to appease the spirit and pray for him to move on. Oh, that's not creepy at all. But despite that, the ghost would still appear, sometimes startling employees who entered alone. My friend only lasted a few weeks at the job because he kept encountering the spirit and couldn't take the constant fear. Okay, wow. I wonder what their turnover rate is, because that's spooky-ooky. That was just like a quick one to get us started. These next ones are all a little bit longer, so let's go ahead and jump on in. Entity in my room. I live in a rural area in the Philippines. The Philippines are very spooky. A lot of my stories last year were also from the Philippines, and I'm learning there's a lot of ghosts there. Since I was a child, I have often felt strange things around me, like ghosts or enchanted beings called encantos or manignos. Sorry if I mispronounced that. You guys know I'm terrible about that. I don't see them, but I can feel their presence. Somehow, I am sensitive to these energies, and I'm the only one in my family who notices them. This feeling is hard to explain. It's like knowing someone wants me to stop what I'm doing or wake up. Sometimes it makes me feel upset or stressed, like a heavy pit in my stomach or anxiety that makes it hard to sleep. It's different from normal stress or anger, which I understand. Yeah, I felt this before. I grew up in a haunted house, and it's, like, it's a ghost. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, this is something paranormal. I don't know how you know. It's just like your gut instinct is like, this is something paranormal. Because of this, I have had trouble sleeping since I was very young. I learned to live with it and found always to cope so that I could return to a peaceful, simple life. But one night, I decided to sleep in a closed, unused room in our house. This room had been empty for 5 years. It isn't big, but it's okay for one person. I recently got a job, and sometimes I have to stay up late working on papers. To avoid waking up my sisters, who usually share a room, I moved to this spare room. I thought it would be fine since strange things hadn't happened in a long time. But I was wrong. The first night, even though I was very tired, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was there. I felt watched. I don't think it wanted to hurt me, but they were clearly upset. They didn't want me there. That feeling kept waking me up. Ooh, that makes me uncomfy. After 2 nights of this, I decided I had had enough. I think they are angry because I took over a small space they consider theirs. Before, these spirits seemed to inhabit 2 rooms in the house, but now only this small room is left. I told my sisters, and we agreed they were upset because I'm invading their home. Yeah, that would make sense. There's always like that one spot that people don't really frequent that I feel like quickly becomes whatever is attached to the house, like that's their spot. And they're flexible in the way that they usually are okay with having just the room no one goes in, which is nice and not always the case, but sometimes they do care about which room they're in, and when they run out of rooms, I can see getting upset. It wasn't just the sleepless nights. I also felt their faint presence behind me when I was working on the computer. My worst nightmare. No, I told them to go away, but I know that doesn't work with these beings. I don't like that. So today I gave up and went back to my sister's room. We are going to try to find a way to get the spare room back peacefully, knowing it's their space but also a part of our home. By the way, guests in our house have felt the same eerie feeling, getting stressed or even sick, but only if they sleep in that room. So they asked for advice. I don't really have any advice. I'm not very good at banishing unwanted spirits. It's not in my list of talents. I'm more so the kind to see them and scurry away and give them whatever they want. So, yeah, that makes me uncomfy. My husband died in 2020. After he died, I found out a series of very unpleasant things about him. It was devastating and took me more than 3 years to come to grips with. He died in August of 2020, and I sold our condo in June of 2021. He had renovated the entire condo. Kitchen, both bathrooms, flooring, trim, doors, everything. It took nearly 3 years. I have 2 small dogs, and when the realtor told me someone was coming to see the property, I took the dogs, locked the door, and went outside. The realtor told me to be out for about 30 minutes. After that period of time, I went back upstairs. The door was as locked. I entered, and when I did, it looked as if people had been there. Doors were moved, the laundry doors were wide open. I had closed them. They were barn doors. I then got a text from my realtor asking me why I didn't put the key in the lockbox on the main floor outside. The people couldn't get in with their realtor. I'll be honest, I was in a very bad place after he passed, particularly after what I found, and thinking in detail was not something I was doing. Understandable. I went to the main washroom and saw that the bath mat was sitting over the tub not the way I left it. I touched it and felt water. Almost like someone got out of a shower and had been standing on it. It was a fairly big apartment, 2 bedrooms and an office. When the dogs and I were in bed at night, I could hear noises in the kitchen after he had passed. I was too afraid to get out of bed. I would be too. As someone who grew up in a haunted house, this was a common occurrence. I used to hear someone pacing outside of my bedroom door, and if I left the door cracked, I could see them. Oh, it makes me so weirded out to think about. And I would just hide under the covers when I went to bed because ain't no way. There's no way. No way. It was a concrete building, and we couldn't hear anything people were doing in apartments near us, so hearing something was very unusual. I moved in June of 2021 to a new condo. The first night there, I was alone. The dogs were being taken care of. I was laying in bed, not asleep, laying on my side at the edge. I felt someone brush past me. My hair actually moved. It scared the hell out of me. I lay there for a few moments, afraid to move. Finally, I moved again, recently far from where I had been living. Last Christmas Eve, I was in bed, my bedroom door was open, and I clearly heard 3 knocks on the door. It happened twice. This also really scared me. Maybe it was Santa. I've never been one to think of the spirit world until recently. Last Christmas, I made statements out loud and told him to leave me alone. So far, all has been good. The last 4 years have been a real ride. That's scary. That's the kind of stuff that, scares me. Because when you see some sort of, paranormal and you're with somebody else, it's almost haha, hee hee, I'm scared, but you're with me. When it's just you completely alone, you're home alone, you're by yourself, that's the scariest. Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss, but I'm also so sorry you had to go through that, and I hope that you're on the up and up and you have not heard from this man. My son scares me. Hey everyone, so yeah, my child scares me. There have been a few incidents, but I will share the very first with you. About 2 to 3 years ago, my son, who was 4 at the time, was laying in my bed with me and we were trying to fall asleep. He was doing the usual kid thing when they're fighting their sleep, rolling around, speaking gibberish, playing with his hands. Then all of a sudden he stops, and I feel him sit up in the bed. I am pretending to be asleep, so I just stay still and quiet. Then I hear him having a conversation, but I can only hear his side. What did you say? What? I'm trying to go to bed. You go get it. It's downstairs. That way. No, I'm trying to sleep. You go downstairs. What? I can't hear you. Come here. And that's when I jumped up out of bed and flipped the bedroom light on because he is not about to invite whatever this thing is into bed with us. And I asked him, Buddy, who are you talking to? And he points in the corner of the room and says, Over there. And I said, Baby, I cannot see who it is. You need to tell me who it is. Is it a boy? A girl? The child looks right at me and says, Monster. I had a moment where panic ran through me, but growing up, I had many paranormal experiences myself, so I sat with him and I asked him, Do you want the monster to leave you alone? And he said, Yeah. So I had him repeat after me, and we told the monster to go away and that he was not welcome to be in our home. My son decided to end it with, "Yeah, leave me alone." 2 minutes later, my son was sound asleep. I, however, was up for another few hours after that. And this was only the beginning of my child saying creepy things. That is scary. Let me know if you want me to do an episode just about children and their scary paranormal things, because they're scary spooky. I think that, like, when you're young, like, you don't have any sort of, like, understanding of boundaries or, like, putting mental, emotional walls up, and you're very open to anything and everything. So I think that's why kids can see more. But that's spooky. My dead sister ratted me out to my mom. My older sister passed away at 5 years old, a year before I came along. My mom is super connected to her still to this day, and I have quite a few stories from her I could share. This one makes me laugh now, though. In my 20s, I started smoking. My mom is very anti-drug, so I only smoked when she was away. How could she not smell it? A few days after returning from a night away, she cornered me in the kitchen and told me she had a dream about Tina, the big sister. Tina told her I was smoking wacky backy, in this dream, and she wanted to ask me if it was true. I convinced her it was just a weird dream, and absolutely was not. Sorry, Mom. And we moved on. 3 days later, my mom comes bursting into my room at 4 a.m. shouting at me that I was lying to her. Tina had come back to her and told her I was lying, and that I am. I had to get up for work at 5, so I got up and made tea because she was really angry, so I confessed all of it, and she went back to bed, annoyed at me for making her doubt my sister more so than the smoking. So yeah, my dead sister rats me out to my parents. A lot of people are saying, like, the sister sucks, but honestly, this cracks me up. I get it. Like, that cracks me up. I'm sorry. And maybe it's coming from a place of concern rather than, anything else. My daughter's imaginary friend. Another scary, spooky child one. In 2013, my wife and I divorced, and we both moved into separate homes. The divorce went well, and we are still good friends to this day, partly because we have a daughter together. We agreed to split custody over our daughter, and I rented an old house in a historic district in the city where we live. It was a very pretty home, built in 1935, but kept up very well. I would have my daughter 2 weeks at a time, and she had a bedroom in the back of the house. She was 3 years old at the time, and I kept noticing her talking to her friend. One day I found her in a little closet talking to someone, and I remember her saying she was talking to another girl named Betty. I have no idea where she heard the name Betty, as she was only 3 years old, but I just chalked it up to a child's vivid imagination. This was 5 years ago, so this was either right when Betty came out by Taylor Swift, maybe she heard it from her mom, or it wasn't out yet. That could be where. Just saying. Keep in mind, I'm a single dad to a little girl. I really have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to dressing, hair, or just little girl stuff in general. Her mother is good at that stuff, but not me. I put my daughter to bed one night after her bath. I remember brushing her hair that night, but that was all I did. The very next morning, her mom came to pick her up from my house, and my daughter was just waking up. Her mom went back to her bedroom to find my daughter's hair was fixed in 2 perfect French braids. Her mother was real proud of me at first that I had done her hair so cute, but I told her I didn't and couldn't do that. I can't even braid her hair, much less do perfect French braids. We asked our daughter how her hair got fixed, and she told us that Betty had done it during the night. I broke the contract on the rental agreement and moved out within the next month. I would love to. I get that, like, I'm here on the outside looking in, but I wish she would have stayed just to see what else would have happened. I wonder if she ever talked about Betty, like, now that she's older. I wonder, because that's crazy. My nurse was a ghost. In 2020, at the beginning of COVID, I had just given birth. At this time, I could only have one other person in the room with me my entire stay at the hospital. Of course, my kid's father was there, but like the 3rd day, he left to clean up our house and get everything prepared for me and baby. I had gotten sick and had a C-section, so I had to stay for about 4 to 5 days. Well, while he was away, a nurse named Kelly said she would be helping me throughout the day and spending time with me, so I don't feel lonely while Dad is gone. I couldn't really hold my baby due to me being sick and the pain from the C-section, so my nurses would come in every time it was time to feed. I noticed when they came in, they wouldn't acknowledge Kelly, and she would go to the farthest part of the room, and she would tell me, "I'm just going to get out of the way." Now, she did tell me that she didn't specialize in what they did, she was just for comfort, so I didn't question anything. The entire day, she was so helpful and encouraging to me. I really believe I would have broken down if she wasn't in there with me. She was such a sweetheart. Well, after about 5 or 6 hours, she told me she had to leave and that she would come visit me before her shift was over to see how I was doing. She hugged me and blew a kiss at my baby and walked out of the room. Later that night, Dad came back and he was very upset. He had told me some stuff happened with his mom and that he was sorry he took so long. I was upset, but I told him a nurse named Kelly kept me company. As I'm telling him about her, my nurse is changing my sheets, and she's like, "Who is Kelly?" I explained, and she said that nobody named Kelly was in my room or working that day. So I instantly thought about those women who would pretend to be nurses and kidnap children. But my nurse told me that I may be hallucinating, and she told my doctor. I talked to my doctor, and he said the same thing. Well, a couple of hours later, a nurse that I didn't recognize came in my room and said, "I know this might sound crazy, but everyone on the floor is talking about you seeing Kelly." I said, "Yeah, she was here with me for like 7 hours today. She helped out a lot." We're smiling and laughing while I was telling her about Kelly and how sweet and funny she was. Then she pulled up her phone and showed me pictures of her and Kelly that looked like they were in the early 2000s. I was smiling, knowing that I wasn't hallucinating. Then she sat down and told me Kelly had died over 10 years ago from the hands of her boyfriend. I wasn't too shocked because my entire life I've been dealing with paranormal, but I got chills because I never had an encounter this deep. Well, the lady gave me a hug and started crying, saying now that I know that she is okay. That's so sweet. Since that day, I've been wondering, why did Kelly come in my room and help me? I kind of wish I could see her again. That is so sweet and like sad, but like sweet. She just knew that you needed her, and that's why she came, which is very, very sweet. My grandma's house is haunted, but we're not allowed to tell her. My grandma's house has always, for as long as I can remember, been a scary place. I feel like that's most grandparents' houses. There's just something about it. Like, I had great-grandparents, and that was like a whole nother level of scary, but in general, I just feel like the elderly have spooky houses. I don't know why, though. My dad and aunt and uncle all grew up in the house and had paranormal experiences occur throughout their lives. Oh, so you're extra spooky. Cool. One example was when my dad and uncle were teenagers. My uncle was walking down the steps and was swinging a towel as he had just washed his hair. Out of nowhere, my dad, who was standing in the living room at the bottom of the stairs, saw the towel straighten out in front of my uncle as if someone pulled it, and my uncle fell forcefully down the stairs. Oh my gosh. Now my grandma hates all things paranormal, especially Ouija boards, and she would often visit gypsies. So it is a big no-no in our family to discuss the paranormal events that occur in her house. 20 years or so ago, my cousins and brothers were playing in the upstairs bedrooms of my grandparents' house. The toys were set up in the room across the hall from them, and they were all in the same bedroom playing a board game. Out of nowhere, a Hot Wheels car, no batteries, no wind-up, just an average Hot Wheels car, slowly exited the room that the toys were in, went across the hall, and into the room where they were all sitting. Needless to say, they were all terrified. That's spooky. Around 8 years ago, my oldest brother moved into the basement of their house. One night, when he was home alone, he woke up out of a deep sleep, having felt like he was shaken by someone. He stood up and instantly smelled gas. He went upstairs and outside the house. Later, he found out there was a carbon monoxide leak, and if he had not woken up, there's a big chance he could have died in his sleep. In the house? How did you... I mean, I guess it's kind of like an easy fix, but, like, I just feel like he was home alone? That's crazy. Okay, anyway. Months after that, when my grandparents were away for the weekend, the family decided to try the Ghost Radar app in their house. We all sat around the phone. My uncle asked the normal questions. Is anyone here? You know, the works. Then he asked who used to live in the basement. At this point, my brother had moved out. The Ghost Radar replied with my brother's full first name, which no one ever calls him. We were shocked. So my uncle asked, "How did you save my brother?" It replied with, "Wake. WTF. He then asked, "What did you save him from?" And it said, "Gas." Dude. Needless to say, we were shocked. I would say so. The last thing that I'm going to talk about that happens in the house is my grandparents' friend's obituary, who passed away probably 15 years ago, will show up in their kitchen every month or so. They usually say hello to their friend and put the obituary back in the basement where it's supposed to stay. A little while later, it'll show up back in the kitchen. That is crazy. She definitely knows about the paranormal. Like, she may not want to talk about it, but she definitely knows her house is haunted. And I wonder if she, like, has had her own experiences and her and the ghost are, like, just in agreement. Like, she's talked to them. Because if she's talked to gypsies, I feel like she definitely knows. And she doesn't want you to bring Ouija boards in the house because it would make it worse if it's already haunted. That's my theory. I wonder if, like, that was, like, your guardian angel, or if that was just, like, a very friendly ghost, or I don't know. Maybe it was a ghost that just, like, grew attached to the brother, but not if it stayed at the house. Very spooky, very interesting. But that is our last story for this episode. I would love to know what other spooky topics you want me to cover this month, as well as topics in general, what you want to see in the pod, all the things. Definitely leave a comment if you can on Spotify or YouTube, letting me know all that. Don't forget to leave a rating and review, like, comment, subscribe, all the fun things, free, takes about 0.2 seconds, and why wouldn't you want to join the fun? So, that is pretty much it. I love you guys so, so much, and I'll see you in the next podcast episode. Bye, guys!